Hey guys, thanks for checking out this episode. We got a lot of great stuff to get into, and we have Renee Nickell coming on this episode, who wrote an amazing book about her brother. She's a Gold Star sister. Before we get to that, Fort Scott Munitions has been supporting us since day one. They are a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition that is designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. Christmas is just around the corner, guys. The holiday season is just around the corner. And if you want to stock up on ammo, now is the time.
Yeah, and just be advised again, they're catching up.
Yep.
Especially on the 9mm, which is probably the most common ammunition you'll find in the country. Everybody has 9mm ammo, but that is where they're catching up. So you should be good. 5.56, just give or take, it could be 2 months, guys. I mean, at least it's not back to 6 months like it was, just a few months ago. So take your time, be patient with them, but you're going to get great ammunition, probably the best in the country, in my opinion. So
yeah, I don't think it's that long in all cases, because I know like Jason Piccolo, who's been on the show, has bought ammo a bunch of times, and he's actually put up the unboxing and stuff, and it came pretty quick for him. So some stuff is coming quickly.
Some stuff. I think it just depends on who you're buying it from, and also the grade of ammo, because there is cheaper ammo that is made quicker because it's less grainage. It's maybe the pieces and parts aren't as well made as what Fort Scott puts into their stuff, which is fine. I mean, that's what you get. You get what you pay for sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, Jason bought from FortScottMunitions.com, used our promo code, and it came quickly. So,
dude, that's awesome. Well, then there you go. Jason's our what is he, our liptus test, or that's not the right word?
Litmus.
Litmus.
So with that, Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in all 50 states, as well as directly online through FortScottMunitions.com. Go there now. Use the exclusive promo code Battleline for 15% off your order. One word, at FortScottMunitions.com. Use that promo code Battleline. Only available to listeners of the Battleline Podcast. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. Let's get right into everything.
From Omaha, Nebraska to New York City, from planet Earth to extraterrestrial life in space, a podcast with no equal, engaged in unconventional warfare through your speakers and headphones. This is a show about embracing the suck, conquering your demons, and finding God in the face of adversity. Chris Tonto Peranto.
Twitch is on. Motherfucker, I'm going to shoot you in the face.
Ian Scotto.
Ian and I have been dating for a long time.
You are now tuned into the Battleline Podcast.
The switch is on. Battleline Podcast. I'm going to tell you something real quickly that you don't even know, but it's already foregone what happened. But you don't know this last episode. After we were done, I saw the recordings, and it had my voice and your voice, no Christian voice, and I had that feeling in my stomach of this is the worst, because if I lose my work, in terms of something that just involves me, I'll live with it. But it's like if I wasted someone else an hour or 2 hours of their time and it was a great interview, you're just like, fuck. But, and this is not a sponsorship of Squadcast, but this is just the truth. I was kind of furious. I sent them an email, kind of pissed off. I wasn't cursing them out or anything, but I did say, I was like, this is unacceptable. We just recorded a 2-hour podcast, and I don't know if it's a bot who got back to me or an actual person, but they were like, no problem, Ian. We record backups of every show.
Whoa.
And they record a backup of everything. So if you lose something, I have to say, this is the best software for recording remotely like we're doing. If
so we did
out there.
So we did lose. What happened?
No, but they had a backup, and I was able to piece it all together, and happy ending.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I'm glad you. Well, me, I'd have been, we can do it again. I wouldn't have got up, but that is kind of
but I would feel bad for Christian.
No, you're right.
It happened where we lost banter between us, but when I lose it with a guest, it's happened to me. So it's a terrible feeling to call someone and be like, everything we just did, it's gone.
That was a great interview. I enjoyed. Well, I'm glad you figured it out. That's why this is the Ian Scotto Battleline Podcast show with Tonto.
No,
because you know what the hell you're doing.
It's really Squadcast. Shout out to them. I mean, no other. If this would have been Skype or this would have been Zoom, we would have lost it.
We'd have lost everything.
Yeah, they're the best. So anyway, man, what have you been up to?
I actually this whole week just getting the new website up, had to redo I shouldn't say had to, just it needed to be updated. So we updated the ChrisTanoParano.com and then put a lot. I can't believe how much merchandise that we have under that Tano brand with other vendors. So we just had to put everything together. So this whole week has been working with my wife, working with Jeremy Mitchell, who's tremendous, who does a lot of stuff, and Jeremy.
Yep.
Does a lot of stuff to help out with KPI, which is my company, and Battleline, which is a subsidiary of KPI, but then also all the other vendors. So it's awesome. And so just getting to be where, and that's where I was going to, is an e-commerce site, which I fought it for I don't know how many years to not do, like, I'm not going to brand, I'm not going to do this, and finally just like, you know what, people keep asking for it. Whenever I put something up, people want it. It looks like it's more motivating. I don't have kill them all, let God somewhere out sort of t-shirts. So I was like, well, yeah, people are getting, it's positive and it's helping people, and if it does well for myself and those that work with me and those that we work, you and I, even with the podcast, then let's keep it rolling. But you got to make it have a professional, just like a professional storefront. And I didn't, and now I do. And
the website looks great. It really does.
Oh yeah, they did a great job. And then also having the vendors, because there's so many laws. Having guys that help us with discounts like Ned and Medieval and Gladiator Solutions on the Battleline tactical side, but also on the podcast side. Then you have the ones that that are there, but do they give us and they help us promote a bit, but they don't have the discount side, so you have to put that in a separate area. It's so. I'm glad I have people smarter than me to do this, because I would have no idea how to set all this stuff up and then make it look like an actual real good storefront where you're going shopping at a store, right? But then also has the positivity that we have, that we even from the show itself, from the podcast and everything else that goes on. So yeah, I don't know. It was more work for others. I'm the manager now. I just tell people what to do, and they do it if they want. But It really did. My wife is stressed, but she works her ass off on all that, and so she handles it. She's the boss. I'm just the guy out front. She's the one that actually runs everything. So that was the whole week, and then getting stuff set up for next year for the Battleline tactical courses. We'll have one in Florida in February.
Nice.
And then at Rich's place. I love Rich's place.
Rich Graham.
At Full Spectrums. And then, of course, at Divad Defense out there in Lake Geneva. We'll do one out Lake Geneva, Wisconsin in May. Brother, if you could come to that, it's so beautiful out there.
That'd be cool.
It would. And then we'll have another one in Crete, which is South Chicago, in middle June. And then tread-proof training in July. And then by that time, I should be at Fort Scott. So
are you rescheduling Maine? Because that would be the easiest for me to go to.
It's just it's all on the state, man. They have the hardest as far as the regulations, the hibbity-bibbity, the COVID regulations. They probably have some of the most stringent. And
I get it though. I mean, I could tell you New York is great right now because of it.
And that's where I want to, and that's a long ass travel.
Yeah, it is.
So it's like, man, I don't think I'm going to do it. And I it's not really from the hibbity-bibbity virus thing. It's more from, it's just a long way to get out there. And
sure.
Unless you have the numbers, is it worth it to go out there and take more time, or is it worth it to stay close to home where I know I'm going to get the signups and the class filled up? But yeah, it sucks for people on the East Coast that want to train with Battleline, because it is harder for us to get out there, and the West Coast as well. Me and myself and Ben's in Colorado. I'm in the Midwest. I'm in Nebraska, and mainly most of the ranges we have are right here. We just do Florida because you got to get out of Nebraska in February at least once.
I do understand it too, though, because just as an avid podcast listener, right? Like I listen to Bobby Lee's podcast. I'm a huge fan of his. And he just had Pauly Shore on, a great podcast. Oh, yeah. But those guys were even saying with COVID right now, it just changed kind of their perspective on, do I want to tour all the time? They're like, even when things calm down, maybe I don't want to tour all the time. And I get it. Like Pauly Shore just moved to Vegas, he was saying, and he's like, I'll probably do a residency there every week. But as for traveling all over the country, I don't know if I'm excited about it right now. And I get that.
And it's not feeling unsafe or feeling, at least not in my case, that I'm going to get sick. It's just it allows you and we talked about it when it first happened. It allowed you, even if you didn't want to, restructure your priorities. Where your priorities lie? Are they at home? Or are they out there traveling and meeting and doing things? Or should they be close to home so you can be close to home? So when you're done with whatever you're going to do, you can come right back home, or only spend a couple of days away. Or, if I go to Maine, and I don't fly anymore. I don't, guys. Unless I have to, I don't. I drive to Maine. That's a whole week for me. It's 3 days.
Yeah, that's
a 3-day drive. But to say that is not the best way to see this country is in a car on and not the interstates, get off some of the old highways, but it's awesome. I love seeing the country that way. But I do think that, and people look at it this way, that having the hibbity-bibbity, having the COVID come out, it allowed me to restructure my priorities and feel, okay, where do I really want to be now? Not I'm worried about getting sick. I'm not. But it did say, okay, where is the importance now in your life? Is it going out and all these places, or is it, hey, maybe you're gonna have to sacrifice and you're gonna piss people off, piss some of your people that support you. You're gonna piss them off because you're not gonna get in their areas, but you're gonna be able to be home. And you're going to be home, after you're going to be gone for a day, then you're going to be back home, or you're going to be able to take your family with you.
Yeah, and also if it's really important for them to take a class with you and it's a once in a lifetime experience, they'll travel. I mean, look,
they do.
I'll give you an example. I'm a huge Dokken fan. When I heard Dokken was reuniting and doing one show in South Dakota, I said, I'm going to South Dakota. Right. And I wasn't pissed at them. I was like, why aren't you playing New York? I wanted to go. I went. I don't regret it. And you know what? They never, at least now, they've never played a show at the full lineup again in America. So I got to see it. I got to experience it. And yeah, if it's important, you're gonna make the travel. So I get it. It's more of an inconvenience for you because you're the one who has to regularly do it,
And I did that. So, and that time's done. I did that for 3-4 years, and it about damn near literally killed me. So, yeah. No, you're well said, bro. That's well said. Yep. Definitely.
So I did want to get to this just because this is the final show we're doing before the election. Any prediction? What do you think is going to happen?
I don't have. I am back to where I was when I was deploying. I didn't care. Whatever happened, and you just roll with it.
But you don't have a guess? Just so you're on record with who you see winning?
I really don't. I honestly think it could go 50-50. And the amount that I travel, that's another thing you're seeing. When you travel, when you're in the cities, you're seeing Biden and Trump signs, depending on the geographical areas.
I wouldn't agree with that. You don't see a whole lot of Biden signs because I at least from my perspective, I've seen some, but Biden supporters will tell you themselves they're not enthusiastic about him. They're going to vote for him, but they're not. There's not the enthusiasm there.
And if that's the East Coast, I don't know, bro. That's you.
No, but everywhere. Arizona, I saw way more Trump signs. Even New York, way more Trump signs. New Jersey, way more Trump signs.
And when I am off, and what I was saying, when I get out of the city and I get into the rural areas, that's all you see. Trump. And it was just me driving to Wisconsin, driving to Chicago, when I drive to Fort Scott, when I drove to Shreveport. Oh, yeah. I live in North Omaha, and I don't know if you know the geographics of North Omaha. North Omaha is extremely African American. It's pretty much that's the majority of it. You see Biden and Kara Eastman signs more here.
Wow.
And it is what it is. But you still see Trump signs.
And I'll say for me, I'm also not in the city. And you also don't see signs in the city because you don't really have a yard sign in the city. But
that's true.
Long Island, I could tell you definitely see more Trump enthusiasm. That doesn't mean he's going to get more votes on Long Island. It just means there's more enthusiasm for the Trump campaign. And I get that.
My guess would be a flip a coin, 50-50, but regardless, it's just like when I was working, whoever isn't, so what? Okay, you won. I'm going to keep going back and living my life, whatever I need to do to be successful. And so, whatever happens. And the thing is, if people would just like, hey, whoever won. All right, let's go back to being the best person we can be. Let's go back to doing what we need to do to be successful. Oh my gosh, taxes are going to be higher because it's Biden's up. Well, then maybe I need to work a little bit harder. Oh crap. Now the laws are going to be, gun laws are going to be terrible. I don't know. I'm just making this shit up.
Sure, I get it.
But it's like, well, so what? Let's roll with it. You're flexible. Be like water. Be Bruce Lee. Be like water. Be like water. Just flow with it. And that's how I always was when I was deploying, no matter who was in office. And I got away from that when I came back from Benghazi, which I really felt I needed to do that. Anyway, that was a personal issue that I had because it personally happened to me with politicians. But now I'm back to where I was before. It's like, hey, whoever wins. I'm going to keep trucking along, keep grinding, just like you, man. I know you're 100%. The same way. I don't care. We're just going to keep grinding. Yeah, some of the stuff they say and do may piss me off. I may not agree with some of the stuff Trump does. I may not agree with some of the stuff Biden does. But I'm just going to keep grinding and keep driving along. The only thing is there's some of the socialist aspects that Biden's vice president, and I don't know. I don't do a lot of the research. It's stuff that you see, and if that's the case, I'm not into socialism, man. It's something that I've fought against. I've seen in other countries, and I know that kind of shit doesn't work. But if Biden is elected I don't even know her name, Vice President Kamala Harris. If she's in, again, you just continue to live. You live until somebody steps on your toes and somebody comes into my house and says, "Hey, you have to do it this way." Well, then there's a problem. Then we have a fight. But up until that point, there's no fight. Let's just keep living, keep doing the best we can, and succeed. And you're the same way. And that's why you're successful in what you do. You just kept grinding along, and look how well you're doing now.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate it. As for the predictions, just because I threw it out there.
Throw it out there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it could go either way. I think it's going to be an extremely close election. My big prediction I have actually, but I think people know this, is that we're not going to know the results for days. That's one thing. And it is sort of by design. There's no reason we shouldn't be able to know the results that night. Yes, I do know what happened in 2000, Bush v. Gore, but we preemptively know we're not going to know that night, which is just strange. We've never had this where you could vote 3 days after the election in swing states. It's going to be strange. But anyway, minus the voter fraud stuff going on, which could sway things. I'm not going to say it can't. I think it could go either way. I would actually give Trump the edge. And it's because just looking at the map, looking at the electoral map, I see Florida going to Trump. I see Arizona going to Trump. I see Pennsylvania going to Trump. And those in particular, Ohio might go either way.
I wonder. Iowa's split. Whenever I drive through Iowa, rural America, it's just Trump everywhere, and then you get into Des Moines, and you see more Biden signs. So I don't know, but if you've seen the map, what can you tell me about? I mean, that's my neighboring state, and they always are fluctuating both ways.
But I will say, as I kind of said earlier, I think it's hard to judge based on signs because,
you're right.
In my perspective, and this is just from people I've spoken to, what I've seen, friends of mine, Biden supporters generally, almost all of them that I talk to, are like, I don't really like the guy, but he's my only other choice. This is who I'm going for. You don't really, other than like the Lincoln Project people, there's no one that enthusiastic about this guy.
Sure.
Trump supporters, I've met two different types of Trump supporters. There's the in-your-face, I love this man, he can do no wrong Trump supporter. And then I've met people, I could tell you, a trainer at my gym, right? I was asking about the election, just having a casual conversation. He was like, yeah, I don't really know who I'm going for. And then when he realized I am not someone who's going to really care who you're voting for, he was like, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm voting for Trump, but I can't say that. So I've seen a lot of that too.
I could see that. And I could see a lot of a lot of people here because North Omaha in the past election, when it was Hillary and Trump, you would see if people were pretty adamant if they were going to vote for Trump, their signs are out in the yard. I think and I hate to say it, but I think a lot of the people don't do it, and they're going to vote for Trump regardless because it comes out of the fear of what's going to happen to my house. And I'm going to that extreme, but I could see that happening with things that and how the protests go on and how people respond when they find that you are a supporter of Trump, and I know it is a small portion in comparison to the population of the United States, but you see that stuff online where the big fights and the fisticuffs with Trump supporters and Biden supporters, and I know people are like, well, why do I want to put a Trump sign in my lawn in North Omaha when the majority of people here are supporting Biden? What could happen to my house and this? And you hate to say, but that leads into what I think your buddy is going through. I'm not going to tell anybody I'm vote for Trump. I don't want to start any conflicts right now. I'm going to vote for him, but why do I need to put that out there?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, because since he's anonymous, I can tell you what he even said to me. He's like, when it comes to pretty much every issue, I don't really care. It doesn't affect me. He's like, but I just think Trump will be better for business. So that's why I'm going for him.
And he is. That's what
he may be. There's a lot, because New York, I could tell you, right? If you were a homeowner in New York, Trump has been horrible for you. It has increased the price of what you're paying on your home incredibly, including the home my parents live in. So it's been terrible for New York homeowners and homeowners in other places. And then I could personally tell you, healthcare in this country, I don't think has ever been worse. I mean, you're paying close to $1,000 to independently buy healthcare. It's great.
Brother, that started with Obama, though.
But it increased.
Well, then guess what? Welcome to Obamacare, and to say that.
But that's the thing. We need to have something to check there, and there hasn't been anything. There hasn't been any strides, and I want to see both parties get together and have some. I'll tell you the last solution that I heard that I liked on this issue, and it never seemed to be brought up again. 2008 was the first election that I really intensely followed. And I remember when Duncan Hunter ran in the primaries, he said, why can't we buy healthcare across state lines? Why can't I be in New York and buy a plan in Nebraska? And then it would increase competition. That sounds like a good start.
I agree. Competition always drives the price to where it needs to be. It drives it down because it makes those businesses more responsible, and they can't sit and be a monopoly. No, I remember that. I do remember that, and I agree with that too. Is privatization or the competition of business is where prices stay in line. It's when we have companies can make a monopoly, and that's when those prices go up. So I agree. I with me personally, I haven't fully covered because of my injury.
VA
with the arm,
which by the way is also broken and also needs to be fixed. And I don't know if you could tell me better. Obviously, have there been strides in the past?
Yeah, actually it has. They have improved with veterans, because now we can, if we can't get to our provider, if you live outside of a major VA hospital, you can go to a private provider now. You just have to sign up the paperwork for it. And
That's good.
It does. And the wait times, at least for me in Omaha, it's not bad. The hospital actually built more wings onto it to accommodate more veterans, and I get everything done there, and they're always fantastic. I mean, these are $3,000 freaking hearing aids that I got done in a week with them, and it was great. But again, it is VA dependent. It's state line. It is, where's the VA at? I don't know if the people in Atlanta at the VA hospital can say the same thing I can in Omaha, but I have seen improvements here with the VA hospital. That being said, I do agree with you on that, on the competition, on the privatization, and I've seen, as far as people will say, "Hey, Ton, how can you describe and talk about the healthcare when you're on the military healthcare? You're on VA. It's me. What covers me. It doesn't cover my family." And I've seen our premiums go up when Obamacare came in with my wife. It went up 5 times over. So we went up from paying very little in premiums to, I think we paid, $2,000-3,000, and then the deductible went up to $5,000. It went from $1,000, and now it's a $5,000 deductible. So wow. I'm like, man. So I agree. There has to be some fix.
Also, here's the thing: when it wasn't until the very end of the Obama administration that I was not working for a major corporation. So when I work for a major corporation, you get great healthcare with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a problem too, because of the fact that if people want to start a small business and they want to give their employees healthcare, it is an insane cost. I just think I don't think anyone on either side can tell you it's not a broken system. They're going to have different solutions, but it's definitely a broken system at this point.
Right, I agree. I looked in actually healthcare, making KPI, making it an S corp and doing healthcare for employees. Like, like you're saying, hey, and it's outrageous. There's no way I could even get into it unless we're clearing literally where I feel comfortable, unless we're clearing 7 figures a year, which is, that's maybe in a few years that might happen, but I doubt it. Awesome. but I agree with you. And that's where, again, if you're voting and I see the Biden ads out there on it, but I'll be honest, if you're voting for either candidate, neither candidate has a good solution for it. And that's just take it for what it's worth. You're going to know, because I'm less well read on this stuff because I don't pay attention to it as much as other people do. So take that with a grain of salt. You can speak more eloquently on it than I can, just because I really do pull myself out of it. And whatever happens, I just go with it. I grind with it, and I'm going to do well regardless. Even if I have to step it up and work just a little bit harder to make those ends meet, I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a way to do it. But yeah, if I said, we're getting back to the election again, if you're going to vote based on healthcare, I don't think you really, there's a dog in the fight on either side, to be honest with you. But I said, yeah, that's I think you could speak better on that than I can.
No, I mean, there's nothing more to say. No matter the outcome of the election, I'd like to see us get back to like solving these major issues. And the only way you're going to solve these major issues are both parties actually coming together and finding solutions. This whole idea that people have, that Democrats have, of we don't want to work with Republicans, and Republicans have we don't want to work with Democrats. That's exactly what's destroying the country.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So there needs to be some type of solution on all of these major issues going on. We have an email to get to, but we'll get to it after, because we got to bring on Renee. Before we get to Renee, as we always talk about on this show, one thing politically we are on this show is very pro Second Amendment. And Fort Scott Munitions is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition that is designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring you're going to receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in every state, as well as direct online through fortscottmunitions.com. We have the link in the description if you're driving right now or something. So when you get a chance, just click on that. And when you make your order, use the exclusive promo code Battleline. You're going to get 15% off your order. And that really shows support for us here at the show and lets them know that we're doing our job. And they've been a proud supporter of us, Battleline Tactical, and Chris. And with that, I'm going to invite Renee into the room.
I got it.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ow! What the hell was that? And I'm deaf. Oh my gosh.
Sorry about that. So I've been listening to y'all's podcast, and I appreciate the fact that, you have inspirational military content without the overtly political garbage. So
it's funny that people, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
People, I think, thought it was going to be super political 2 episodes ago, and then people clicked on it, and it was really like 10 minutes of it, But anyway, I'll give Renee an introduction. We'll get into everything. Renee Nickell, author of Always My Hero, The Road to Hope and Healing, following my brother's death in Afghanistan, the Gold Star sister of Marine Corps Major Samuel Griffith. And I also know right now you're working on a screenplay, which we'll get into. But this is my second time having the opportunity to talk to you. And actually, one thing both of you have in common, I feel like a lot of authors we have on here do the rounds of like Fox News and different podcasts. Both you guys have done the 700 Club, which is pretty cool.
And the Hallmark Channel. And
the Hallmark Channel. That was fun. That was one of the first things we did when we were touring with when Paramount was putting us out there when the movie came out, and the Hallmark Channel was great. And who was the and I grew up. Don't hate me. I did. I grew up stealing my dad's Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues at the time, and it was the lady. If she was married to Rod Stewart for many years, and she was one of the hosts. What was her? She's Australian, right, or New Zealand? She's Rachel something.
Yeah, I can't.
Joe, I'm googling it, but I was like, oh my gosh, I get to be on TV. I was like all starry eyed because like, oh, but this is the, and I even said, I used to look at you when I was, I mean, I creeped her out probably when I was a teenager with the Sports Illustrated. I had my dad's Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. I was just in awe, but it was so fun. And they fixed this chicken soup on set. It was the best chicken soup I ever had in my life.
Did you get the trailer?
It was awesome. And we didn't get the trailer because we had to go to another. I mean, Paramount was just bam, 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 bam. So it was like, go, okay, now we got to go here. Oh, bam, now we got to go here. And so we didn't get the trailer, but I still had fun. And everybody was so nice
there.
It was
when I saw my name outside the trailer, I was like, I've made it. I've arrived.
You made it. I got my name outside the trailer for my HD Vision sunglass commercials and my copper fit commercials. Cool. That's where I got. It's like, are you kidding me? The talent, like, hey, the talent's moving. I was like, who's the talent? You are. Like, are you seriously? Is that really what? I thought that was a joke. That's what you call, like, you're the talent, dude. No, I'm not the talent. Stop calling me. And walking around holding an umbrella over your head. Like, will you stop doing that? I can't. I'm gonna get fired if you don't. Okay, just can I hold it then? No, you can't touch the umbrella. I have to. It's like, okay, I'm this guy now. Finally, I didn't feel like I made it. I felt like I became the biggest douche, excuse my language, biggest D-bag in the world. But it's cool experiences though. Those are really cool. When you think back now, like, God, those are cool.
So fun experiences, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what else? I guess we could start it off this way too. Is another thing I think you guys both have in common is that a lot of guys we have on the show will say, it was my dream to write a book. I always wanted to be an author. I know in your case, this really happened, and much like Chris's book, like was a more therapeutic thing that you wanted your brother's legacy to live on.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought I would write a book about something, but it really wasn't until my brother died that, I had my mission. Yeah. So, I just, after I had gone through so much, I just wanted to help other people. It was, nobody writes a book for the money, you just, so I just wanted to help other people. And I wanted people to know about his sacrifice. That was really important to me.
And did it? I mean, it did help with me, and also the other two actually helped because the Ranger Way and Patriot Creed I wrote actually during some other difficult times in my life, which I brought on personally. So actually, I wanted to before we get to that, I wanted to ask you about the horse riding.
Oh, my daughter.
On the horse, yeah, I got it, but we'll get into that in a second. But it is therapeutic writing and getting it out there, and you can vent. In fact, but I actually, my editor, even though on the Patriots Creed, I vented too much sometimes. She was like, do you need to tone it down a little bit? Because I fall under the faith-based, Hachette is huge, but they have a faith-based publishing section in Nashville, and that's what I fall under, which is, I love it. I'm glad that's where I should be. But they were like, man, you're venting a little bit too much. Do you want to put all that out there? And but it did help, even just getting it out. And then we edited, we pulled some of it back. It still felt good to. It's like sitting on a couch and you're talking to your therapist on the pages, and it was nice. I don't know if you felt the same way, but that's how I felt.
Oh yeah, I had 14 versions of my manuscript. My publisher was, each time we cut a little bit more out, and the final version was a much softer version because I didn't know who I was going to market it to. I didn't know if I was going to take it to the Christian market or just mainstream. Yeah. And over the past 3 years, I've kind of I know we'll get into the screenplay, but I really want to go after that mainstream audience because that's who really needs my message.
Yeah.
So,
And it will. It just takes
Yeah.
time. And it eventually, as people read it and it gets pushed, and books just take, you know the deal. They just take time to get to where they need to go. Unless you've been there for a while, you're the Bradford
Right.
or something where it goes right to the mainstream. It's not. And when it is faith based, or when it has, and that's the sad thing, even with this country. And I love this country, but there's some sadness there that bothers me a little bit with this country, is that when it is faith based, you hear the word faith, you hear God, you hear Jesus, it turns some of the people off, and they don't want to
Yeah.
read it. And I think it's just they don't want to be challenged. They don't want to feel like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not living my life right. Because when they get into those books, especially when they're military and they're faith-based books, or they're about family members in the military, you're open like, oh my gosh, wow, that happened. How the hell did they get through that? Oh my gosh, how'd that but they don't want to go and start it because it's
Yeah.
faith-based. But that's where you and authors like yourself and you and myself, we got to stick to our guns and say, no, we're going to talk about God. Get in here and read this thing. Maybe you're the person that needs to read this, and it will. It's just going to take a little bit longer. But like you do, you're staying on literally like your daughter, staying on that
Yeah.
horse, and you're going to keep pushing it. So no, I admire what you're doing. And I'm trying not to get into too much stuff because we don't have anything to talk about on your show when I get to go on your show.
Well, I'm really honored that you guys have me on. I've been binge listening to the podcast. So, I mean, it's just really, really
Wow.
great show. So
Wow.
I'm honored that you guys would have me on.
No,
What-
of course we'd have you on, and also you're in the same category as Christian Bustler, where I've been telling you we'll have you on
Yeah.
for months, and we're finally doing this. So I think people would probably like to hear just about the origin story of your brother.
Yeah,
Was he the type of guy who, as a young kid, said to you, "I want to join the military," or was it that the country was going to war and he felt that calling?
No, it was, from 5 years old, he was going to be a fighter pilot. So, and
Wow.
that's what he became.
So how did it, growing up, I have brothers and sisters too, and they can probably tell you stories about me and my silliness, craziness. But then how was it growing up? Was he a bully? Was he
always
tough? Or was he
shenanigans.
the nicest? Yeah, there.
Always.
Uh,
Yeah.
What was his best thing that he did to you then? What was that that would just piss you off, but he knew he could get under your skin? Because that's the kind of brother I was with my sister. I knew I could get under her skin, and that was, as a brother, just hiding in a room and scaring, or just manipulating her and trying to start fights with her and my younger brother, just so I could watch.
Oh, it was
and
usually
see
me
the
picking fights with him, and then he'd like punch me in the arm, and I'd cry, and he'd get in trouble. So
you dirty. That is dirty. Damn sisters.
I mean,
I tell you.
I'll never forget. I was 21 and married, and we were going out. It was him and
Yeah.
me and my mom. My mom's in the back seat. We're driving, and he just reaches over, just punches me in the arm, and I start crying because it hurt. And my mom's yelling at us, and we're 21 and 23 years old. But that's just how it was,
That's
He taught me how to chew tobacco. It was.
Are you a dipper?
No.
Are you a chewer? Or are you okay?
No.
What? Okay, you got it.
No, we he was in college, and we were driving up.
Talk about it. Tell us what happened.
Oh, you got a little frozen there.
Say again. We lost you.
Yeah, let me.
Yeah, we lost you. Go ahead. Start that again because we lost.
Yeah,
you.
he was attending Penn State, and we were driving up for, I don't know, a Navy ball or something for the weekend, and he had this tobacco. I thought it was the most disgusting thing because at the time I smoked cigarettes. So he used to get on my case all the time about smoking, and I was like, "What are you doing? You're putting this disgusting tobacco." So then I was like, "Well, let me try it. Let me see what this stuff is." And so he's like telling me, he's driving and I'm in the passenger seat, and he's like telling me, how to put it in my lip, and and then it's like saliva starts filling in your mouth, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I like start swallowing.
Oh my gosh, you gotten it?
I was so sick. Oh yeah, it was awful.
Did you puke at all?
No,
did it stay in?
no, I was so nauseous though, and he's just like laughing his ass off, and
I have a fist bump on that one because usually the first time gutters, they call you gutting it, is what you're doing. It goes you're up.
I'm sure
chucking
I was
everywhere.
gagging, you know.
Oh, do you remember what kind it was?
No,
Was
I
it? Do
don't.
you remember?
Whatever he could
Oh,
afford
you
in
blocked.
college.
Oh shit! So it's probably like Kodiak or
Probably.
Grizzly or some some cheap leaf. You know though, I used to gut. The only time I got it was at Ranger School when I was so hungry. I used to actually eat. I would eat Levi Garrett and Redman, Mountain Face, because I was so hungry. I didn't even care. Geez, I'm so starving. Yeah, that's probably why I have Crohn's disease right now. Thanks, Army.
Oh,
Appreciate that, man. But when you were when he was going in and we talk, I know we don't want. I don't want to. I want people to read your book,
Yeah.
so we can get as much as. But what was your feelings when he was going in? Because I know what my family felt like when I was walking towards that plane. I mean, my grandpa was crying because he didn't want me to go, and they're all thinking the worst because I am going to be you're going into. I'm going into an area that they don't have any idea. All they know is what Rangers do from what they see.
Yeah.
But what was your feeling like when he was heading off? And were you there when he was hopping the plane and going to basic training, going to his first basic training to get his military career?
Well, he went through ROTC.
ROTC.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then when he graduated, he got commissioned as an officer and then went straight to flight school. And then 9/11 happened, and I just remember rushing over to my mom's house because at that time we had lived about a mile apart, and she's crying, and she's concerned, and I'm crying because my husband just told me that he's joining the military. So I wasn't ever really worried about him. I had a different perception of him. He was invincible in my eyes. So even his final deployment, I wasn't worried, even though my parents had great concern. And it was just one of those things that even when my mom called me to tell me that he had been killed, I in my brain I couldn't even wrap my head around the possibility that could actually happen to him. So there's like this moment in my brain where I'm actually thinking that maybe he lost his legs, or something catastrophic happened to him, but that he would be okay.
Okay.
Between that few seconds of her saying your brother was killed in Afghanistan, that split second, I'm thinking he'll be fine. He's coming home.
Well, and that, wow, that'd be tough. Wow. Yeah, and when you heard that, and we'll get into as much as you want to as well, Renee. I know how difficult it is. Believe me, I understand. But were you the one that really was the rock and was the one holding the family together when that happened? I can't even imagine my mom. I know how she would feel if stuff like that happened to myself, and my sister and my brother would probably be the ones that hold it together. Were you the one that stepped up and really took on the reins then of what your brother being the invincible one, and now you're going to be the invincible one and keep everybody together and keep help everybody get through this and heal through it?
I mean that's what happened is I kind of felt bad talking about my grief because my mom lost a child.
Yeah.
So and it was probably soon after that I became estranged from my dad, and I talk about that in the book a little bit. So it's just family dynamics just really fell apart, and that's kind of what one of the points I'd like to talk about is just how a military death is so much different. The grief isn't different. The pain is there regardless of whether someone dies of cancer or a car accident, but a military death, the dynamic surrounding everything is just so complicated. And it's just
It is.
Well, how for people who don't know, how so? Because I do remember you said to me the last time we spoke that there were some family members that supported you writing a book and others who didn't.
Yeah, I think that's just how it is with, whenever you're kind of opening up that can of worms, and I tread very lightly in what I choose to disclose. Obviously,
Sure.
I still want to honor people. Some I don't I don't want to, but it's, kind of being the
No,
bigger person. But I think I've talked to enough family members of, fallen military service members that I know I'm not alone. There's just so many families. I mean, I just got an email a few weeks ago from a husband whose wife lost her brother in a training accident. He was with the 75th Rangers.
Okay.
And I think it was a free fall accident. He fell out of a plane, and it was just, I want to say it was just like a year and a half ago that this happened. And he's having trouble kind of navigating her grief because she's just not processing right now. And I'm thinking, gosh, she's just a year and a half out. I mean, I was a mess 18 months out. I mean, my whole family life was a mess. My relationships were a mess. And so, when I wrote the book, I was just cautious on what I wanted to disclose. So
because and you do have there is anger there. There is something that, like, how come people aren't understanding what I'm going through, and you don't understand, but your focal point is, as man, it's just people should feel not bad for me, but they should understand that I'm having issues right now, and they should accept that and not, oh, you got to move on. You got to move on. I think that was the hardest thing. And again, mine was just teammates, but I should say but it was teammates. The more people said, hey, actually the more people that said, hey, what's going on? What's wrong? Can I help? That's what pissed me off more than anything. It's like, guys, just let me get through this my way. And I don't know if it sounds like, but from what I'm listening to, that's what it sounds like with yourself. It's like, just let me grieve and let me get this figured out.
Oh, I was pissed off at the world. I mean, it didn't matter who said what or did what, or even their silence pissed me off. There was nothing you could say or nothing you could not say, and I was just angry.
So when did you find yourself that you started to come out of it? Did faith play a big part? Faith is a huge part in my life. That's what got me. That's what got me out of it. Is God just kicked me in the ass one day and said, "Hey, you need to fix your shit, and you need to get this. You need to get this wrapped." And then it was me fixing it, not somebody else coming in, not a therapist, not a friend. It was God and me having that conversation where He just said, "Get your ass up." And this was 3-4 years after.
Yeah.
So what was yours, and was faith part of it? Because we do get a lot of people out there that listen, and I do believe that it's important to hear this. So some people that aren't getting through it have lost God, and they need to bring it back in. So if you can talk a little bit about that, when you found out that, hey, I'm actually, when it got over that mountaintop, I'm starting to recover now.
Yeah, it was probably year 3. I was in denial for, I was still in shock for a couple of years. It was probably my first attempt at writing the book. And, after I read through what I had written, I realized like how angry I was. And I was like, this is not good. So, I just deleted everything. And therapy definitely played a part in helping. I'm still in therapy on and off because certain issues will arise. And, and I just continue. It's an ongoing process of working through things, when you have compounded trauma. So, honestly, probably that pivotal moment, because I believe forgiveness is huge in healing. So that pivotal moment for me, I always had, an awareness of God, a sensitivity to God. And, but it was when I was in ICU and I thought I was dying. I went into AFib, and, so my heart was racing, it was like 180 beats a minute at resting. And, they were talking about, shocking my heart, stopping my heart and restarting it. And I was terrified. And, I just had this conversation with God about, just letting go of that hurt and that pain, and, kind of like, just give me one more chance type thing. And,
but you grew up with God when you're, as a child, right? You, like I did, you fought. I kicked and screamed going to Sunday school, but I still went.
My family was not they were not religious by any means. I
Wow.
actually gained a curiosity when I was 13 years old on my own. And I started to go to a local church and got involved in youth group and, I was probably the first person in my family to accept Christ. And then my brother started going and eventually, I think my mom, she got saved when I was 16 years old. And
Wow.
so
You're the trailblazer. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, and therapy. I did therapy for a while. I actually checked myself where I just couldn't take it anymore, and I went into the VA mid health, and I said, "Here, take my cell phones." I disappeared for 2 days because I
Yeah.
don't want anybody to bother. This was 2017, something like it. So, yeah, to say that, and we say that on the show, to say that it doesn't help, it does. Therapy, but it gets to a point where do I still need it, or what else can I do? And there was a point where I reached the end of it, and like, okay, you guys have done what you can.
Yeah.
Now it's up to me to finish it. And that's when family life came back in as well. But that's amazing. So it is. I'm glad people heard that it's okay to seek therapy. It's okay to talk to somebody. In fact, try it. At least give it a shot. And if it doesn't work or it's not working for you, well, I at least give it a shot. Now, what do I do next? What's the route I have to go now? That path ended. Let's go this path and see if this is going to work.
Yeah.
But because you're always moving forward. Yeah, you're doing as amazing.
Yeah, the most therapeutic thing I did was equine therapy. So that's really, what I did 9 months of that. And that's kind of how we got involved in horses. And that's kind of where my daughters really started to fall in love with horses. And now my 14-year-old says, I don't need a therapist. I go to the therapist every day. So
it's true. What is she wearing? I saw it on Instagram. What is she? Is it like a costume ride? Is that what they're doing now? Is that like coming up, or because I'm trying to figure out what the hell is she wearing?
Yeah, she was wearing a Dorothy costume.
But
from the Wizard of Oz.
That's what it is. Oh,
yeah. So
it's funny that you're mentioning the equine. I was just go with what you were saying. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, it's because we have a lag dog on. That's really what it is. I was just going to say it's funny that you mentioned the equine therapy because believe it or not, I was listening yesterday to that guy. I don't know if you guys heard of Craig Carton, who was on Sports Radio 66, got involved in a whole Ponzi scheme, was supposed to go to jail for 3 years, but because of the COVID, was released, I think, in less than a year. And he said what really got me through this was talking to horses. And he's like, I know you guys think this sounds crazy. He's like, no. But yeah, I sat down with a horse like it was a person and told my story. And I've never went through this. So does it sound a little strange? Of course, but it sounds like there are other people out there who this has helped.
Oh my gosh, it's a huge thing now for treatment of PTSD and combat veterans. There's nonprofits all over the country that are helping veterans overcome post-traumatic stress.
Sure.
And it's incredible because the horses mimic your emotion. And so even if you're not aware of what you're feeling or how to express what you're feeling, the horse is displaying it in some way. And there's a therapist there who's letting you know kind of what's happening. So you learn to read the horse as well. And it's kind of like looking in a mirror, but through the eyes of a horse.
It is therapeutic. I run around my house, and there's a horse farm I run around out here, and the horse knows me. I run by the fence, and you'll hear it. He'll see me, and you'll hear him just yell neigh really loud because he wants me to come over and pet him. I'm like, son of a gun, okay, I'm coming. And I've never met the horse. He just saw me running by his pen every day. But when you go up to him, and it's like they're understanding and they're talking to you. Or maybe it's just I'm just a weird guy. I don't know. I'm but it is like he's talking to me.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. And then I'll run away, and he'll neigh at me again because he wants me to come back and pull some more grass from him and feed him. And I'll just have to go. Just he's so needy. But it does make you feel better. Once you get by, like, man, that felt good. And horses do. They do help because it feels like they're listening. It really does. They're listening to.
They're like giant dogs. Like
they are like.
I mean, it's just like a giant Labrador who you're just, a little bit more slobbery, but.
Yeah, I know Rick Iannucci in Santa Fe, New Mexico, who is a former Green Beret. He has his own ranch, Horses for Heroes, they're a nonprofit, and they have veterans there who get to ride horses. So, I mean, it is a big thing. I do know about that. Yesterday, as I said, ironically, was the first time I heard about the actual speaking with horses. So it's just funny that we're bringing it up again now. You know what I want to get into that, definitely on the more positive end, because I know you brought up the grief after your brother left, but what did your brother actually do in the military? What do you know about his military career?
Well, he was an F-18 pilot, and then he deployed to Iraq. And then his second tour to Iraq, he was on the ground. He had transitioned to the 4th Anglico unit down in West Palm Beach as a reservist. And then he was a forward air controller. So, he used his expertise in the air and took it to the ground. And then, and that's what he did. His final deployment in Afghanistan is, he was the detachment officer in charge and a JTAC. Yeah. So, he ended up stepping in for one of his Marines because they had been just under heavy fire for a couple of days, and he's watching his guys get shot at on the video feed. Yeah. And so the night before, he sat down his whole team, and he basically went and told each one of them what they meant to him. And it was just, I think there was a little bit of foreshadowing there, just, I don't know if he knew, if he felt it, but it was the next day that they got ambushed and they didn't have visual. And so he stood up to expose himself so that, his entire team wouldn't die. And
wow,
he wasn't able to duck down in time, and he was shot.
So. Are you in contact with, because it sounds like you interviewed them for the book, or are you in contact with any of those guys he served with?
Yeah, I continue. We see each other every year. We hold an annual golf tournament for my brother. We weren't able to this year, but we've raised over 6 figures that 100% goes back to combat veterans to do retreats, like reintegration retreats. So yeah, I see them every year. One of his Marines, he's like a little brother to me. I've kind of adopted him as my brother, and he's great friends with my husband. And, we're just always talking guns and, just all kinds of fun stuff with him.
Do you want to plug what charity that is?
The charity is a Renewal Coalition. It's in Jupiter, Florida, and they fly in, all expenses paid. They fly in the military member and their family for, a weekend, sometimes a week retreat of just, cool. Just decompression.
So, and if a veteran wanted to do that or is interested in it, how do they get a hold of you? How do they, is there just Jupiter, not Jupiter, Florida, but Renewal, or is there, we'll make sure it's on there as well.
Yeah, I'm great friends with Mary Hinton, who runs it. So if they got in touch with me, I could put them in touch with her. So.
Okay. All right. And we'll make sure all that information's out to people. I know he posts all that stuff so people can get a hold.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this past year we were able to buy 4 service dogs with the money we raised from last year's golf tournament. So that was pretty awesome. We were able to do that.
Now, is it a golf tournament, or is it like when I go to these golf foundation things and we just hack and probably drink a little bit and then wreck all
a bunch of drunk people that just hope for the best and raise a lot of money.
Yeah, use the term golf extremely loosely. Yeah. The one I went to one last year to help out. I was actually, there's deer around. I was trying to hit the deer with the golf balls, and by the hole 8, and I'm not a big drinker. I'm not, but I had a little bit. It was fun. We're having a good time, and we're with the buddies, and you're at the golf course. It's hard not to have a beer. It is. They were daring me to try to chase the deer down in the woods to catch it and kill it. I'm like, I could. I was running through the woods trying to, and everybody was laughing so hard. And I think there's a video out there of me running into the woods trying to catch a deer, which there's no way in hell of it. But it was so fun because we had a ton of veterans there, guys that have been through a lot of stuff, and it was it was just a blast. And you could just tell from the day, when the day was over, guys, you just see that from when they got there to the end, they just, it's like a weight lifted off their shoulders. Like they had a good day today. And I was beat up though. I got that next day back to the hotel, and I had no idea how scratched up I was running into the woods trying to catch a deer. But those things are always so fun to do, and they're good. The golf outings are so good for veterans, and they get the civilian population in, because everybody loves golf. Even if you don't play it, when you're at a golf course, you love golf.
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
It gives something time to. Yeah, it does. So going when you got the book, I know you're the not the manuscript. Help me out, Ian. What's it called?
Screenplay, but this is
the screenplay.
This is separate, right? Because I haven't asked you about that yet. This is kind of separate from the book.
Yeah,
right?
I want to get into the screenplay. What's going on with that, and and who's it with, and just if you can give us more information.
Yeah, well, when I wrote the book, I had the forethought of writing it so that people could visualize a film out of it, because from the get-go, I knew I wanted to write a screenplay. Of course, I had no idea. I didn't even have any idea how to write a book at the time, but I just figure things out. So I'm about 30 pages into the screenplay, and I just pitch. I pitched to four different production companies back in February, right before COVID hit, and it was they were Christian, producers, and after some thought, I was like, I can't take this to the Christian market. I don't think they're ready for it, and I can't be as authentic as I want to be. Sure. In the film, because I used a lot of restraint in the book, and I just feel to convey that rawness and emotion in a film. This isn't like an I Can Only Imagine kind of movie. It's just not. And so I really want to take it to mainstream and try to find a big production company. One of Sam's Marines actually contacted me last week, and he was like, "Hey, I saw you were working on a film," because I actually worked on a film the last couple of weeks. I was the production assistant. And
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you when I said something was separate. You're working on a film called Role Model, which is separate.
Correct. Yeah, we wrapped. So, but it was really fun because I got to see the entire process of making a movie before it goes into post-production.
Yeah.
But I don't even know where I was going with this. Well,
I was going to ask, what is Role Model? Because the audience might not know, like, what's the film about?
Don't worry, we'll flow. Ian tries to haggle me. I'm like herding cats.
I totally have
we can go all over the place.
Too.
We're fine.
No, it's all good. But yeah, what is Role Model about? Because I did see that you worked on it, but I don't know anything about the film.
Yeah, it's about a young man who finds out his wife is pregnant, and he gets fired from his job and finds out his wife is pregnant all in the same day. And so he ends up leaving his wife, and then he begins to have these visions of his estranged and deceased father, who sort of comes and visits him and just tries to talk sense into him, and from making the same mistakes he made. And it's really about walking through your fear of failure and forgiveness, and doing the right thing. So it's just a really great positive movie, and so it was great to be on that set. And
it sounds like you went there with the other goal of, I want to see how this is done so I could do my own thing.
Yeah, it was. And then I ended up making these great friendships, and just learning a lot. It was neat to be on that side of it and seeing how a movie's made.
Now, are you pitching? I said you're pitching to big production companies. Are you right now, or you're in the process of finding some or lining them up?
Yeah, I'm in the process. Honestly, I don't really know how to go about doing it, except for finishing the screenplay and then entering it into different contests and things like that. Oh, now I know what I was going to say. A friend of my brother's contacted me last week. He saw I was making a movie, and he said that he just got a job as the media liaison for the Marine Corps. And so what he does is he reads and edits scripts for accuracy. And so he's like, so if you need a F-18, what I would do is I would go and I would coordinate with a unit, and we would get you an F-18, and we would, set up the combat scenes and everything. So we would make sure that you're representing the Marine Corps accurately in your screenplay. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I have to do to hire you? And he said, you have to get a really big production company backing. So I'm like, okay, no problem.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, I'll just call Paramount on the phone, and I'll be right back with you.
Exactly. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I just need somebody.
Have you liked any of these movies?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's fine. And by the way, for the audience, if we're talking over each other, just that there's a little bit of a lag, it happens. I think it might be the weather here or there, but yeah. Have you liked some of these movies that have dealt with the military grieving process, like American Sniper, going into what his wife went through, or have any of those movies, in your opinion, accurately reflected what you and your family went through?
I have a hard time watching combat movies. I have not seen 13 Hours, although I really want to see it. But every time I see a military movie, my husband kind of screens it first, and he's like, no, you can't watch that. You won't be able to handle it. So one night while he wasn't around, I watched American Sniper. So, yeah, I thought it, I mean, I'm not a widow, so I can't really, say from that perspective. But yeah, I would say, that character was conveyed accurately. I've seen movies like Taking Chance, and just I pay special attention to the family members and how they're conveyed on screen. And I don't think there's ever been a film made that has really touched on, the family, the aftermath of what happens. And, we kind of end it with the funeral, and then, there's years.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's the difference is that every war movie that's out there, including ours, it ends. That's where it ends. It ends with the coffins going on the plane, and you don't see the family. Granted, there's family in it. Even in ours, there's a lot of the phone calls home, and that was actually very accurate. The conversations that you have with your loved one when you're deployed, but you're right, nothing after the fact that I know of. And no, it's be good to have something like that out there, and again, good to always, even though war's hell, and war's war. I'm not downplaying your brother's death, but that's war.
Yeah.
People are dying. That's you're in those situations. But what we need to do is show that, and hopefully, you're a very positive person. The movie, when it gets made, and it will, when it gets made, that there is a positive spin.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's got to be.
Yeah, I can picture it in my head. It's a lot different writing a screenplay where you have to show the audience versus writing a book where you're telling them how they're going to feel. So.
Why don't you just give us the ending now, and then I'm good. Don't. I'm kidding. Don't.
Here I am. I survived.
No, and well, are you? How far along are you? I mean, we're getting to. Are you at a? I know you got 30 pages, but are you feeling like you're on point? And if you could set a timeline to get it done, what would be the best case scenario to, hey, we're going to go into filming, go into production now, and we're going to get it done?
Yeah, if I really buckled down, I could probably have it done in 8 weeks, because I have the storyboard done, I have the outline done. I wrote the book, so I know what scenes I really want to have. I know the scenes that I would change to make it, more dramatic for film, and I would change a few things just to make it more, adaptable to the screen.
Sure.
So yeah, if I had time, I could have it done in a couple months. But it's you got to go back to those dark places again. That's what's hard.
You do. So you have to take your time. So don't push yourself on that. Don't say Tano said I had to have it done in 8 weeks, or no, or you got to do it because I'm going
Yeah.
to call you on it later. No, just take your getting through this and moving, and you're actually still very successful. You're even more successful from what it sounds like than back when your brother was going in the military. And we always want to put this on the show and tell people that are going through hard times, that went through hard times like you have been, and that you continue to fight them, which we all do, that have those demons that we have. What would you tell somebody to just keep grinding, to keep pushing on, don't give up, and talk? We've talked about your low points. How do you continue to get through them? And what would you tell somebody if they said, "Hey, I don't want to be here tomorrow. What do I do? How can I overcome and continue to live and not give up?"
Yeah. I don't think there's like, like this one thing that you can tell people. My brother, he always told me that the extra mile is never crowded. So I always think, if I can outlast somebody else, who I'm doing, eventually somebody's going to take notice. So I think if somebody's in a dark place, making it one more day, I don't know, it's just, it's something deep within you that you have to, just know that you're here for a purpose, and it's the will to live. Honestly, it's the will to get back up and to know that there's something greater out there for you. We're not meant to be, in this, stuck in this place of trauma and grief and depression and, all of those things. So,
and that's what we say, and that's what people have come on the show. So it's always comes back to something very similar, where it's just, you just got to get up and take another step. When you don't want to, just take another step, and eventually you're going to take another step, then take another, and then eventually one day you're going to be running, and then you're going to wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I can't move again. All right, take that other step. That's the same thing. And it comes back down to, again, it's within yourself, which is what you just said. It's within you. It's nobody else can do it for you. Some people can yank you every once in a while to get you moving, but it's you that gets you going and running and getting back on your feet, and it takes time.
Yeah.
So, and again, I pretty much knew what you're going to say, because it's, and you said it. You said exactly. Because I'm the same way, and I think everybody that's been through trauma, and you've been through hell of trauma. Anyone that's been through trauma, that's when they've come out and they've been successful. They've come out that way, and it always was. I had to get myself out of it. I had to find a way to do it, and that's not selfish. That's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, there's still discouraging days, where I feel like a failure, and I bounce that off my safe people, usually my husband or my mom, and they're like, Renee, 95% of people who say they're going to write a book never write a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're no failure. Come on.
So it's just, that negative self-talk just creeps in sometimes, and days that I want to quit. Like, why am I doing that? Why would I possibly believe that my story could actually be made into a movie when I'm not I'm not a Navy SEAL. I'm the sister.
Well said. Nice one. Fist bump for that. Bam. Fist bump. Woohoo.
So, I've got to outlast all of them. But
that's awesome. I mean, I'm excited to see it when this happens, and I agree, it will happen. And you know what? Since you mentioned him, we should mention as well that your husband as well is a service member. Yeah,
he was with the 919th Special Operations Group, maintenance group at Duke Field, or near Eglin Air Force Base.
Near Eglin. Yeah. No, that's that place sucked for me. That was Swamp Phase. I mean, near Swamp Phase of Ranger School.
Yeah, my a really good friend of mine, Jesse Anderson, is an Army Ranger. He taught there at the Ranger School there.
Oh, he was Yeah, the RI of Swamp Phase. Actually, that is a great place to be stationed. It's just terrible to be. I mean, that's like the last phase of Ranger School,
Yeah.
and you're emaciated. I remember going there, and it was December,
Hmm.
and we just left mountains in North Georgia. Freezing. I mean, I was freezing, and they give you these little green woolly gloves, and my fingers had split. They look like ballpark Franks because the woolly gloves suck all the moisture out of
Yeah.
them. So every one of my fingers had split down the bone. I mean, down from the fingernail. I mean, literally, it looked like that. I mean, it looked like when you cook a hot dog too long in a microwave. It just,
Yeah.
and I remember going to Florida, be like, oh my gosh, we're going to be warm. We're going to Florida, and it's December in Eglin, and it's not warm. It was like, it was because it's so humid. It was 40 degrees,
Yeah.
but it felt like it was 20. And we jumped in, and I jumped in, and and I remember hitting the ground going, son of mother, I wanted to be. I was so pissed off that it wasn't warm, and I was just crying on. I was like, "Oh my, this place sucks. I got to." And but then I saw, going, and I saw the and they had some great instructor, and it was a cool base. It was a really cool base. And after we left, I just got to talking to guys, the RIs and stuff. And they're like, "Man, this is an awesome base to be a RI at." But I had nothing but misery there. Nothing but misery, but it was beautiful, and it was surreal.
Yeah.
It was a very surreal training environment there. So that's cool. So did you live? You guys was he stationed there? Did you live there?
Yeah, we were there for 10 years.
Oh, did you
We
live
lived
like
in
nearby?
Crestview.
In Crestview?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
was it? And it
Crestucky
was
is what we
awesome.
call it.
Crestucky. Was it awesome?
No, I
Or did you
hated
not
it.
like-
I hated all 10 years of it.
Oh. All right. Well, we each have our differences. Well, I said I hated my time there. I didn't live there, but they had this place called the Gator Bar. Though we got to eat everything. When we graduated, I gorged myself on 2 pizzas, 3 pops, 4 hot dogs, 2 Snickers bars, the large ones, and two little things of Ben and Jerry's Chunky Monkey.
Yeah, it would have been better if we would have lived, closer to the beach. So Destin was our place to go. So, but
yeah, I mean, I would think that's the whole appeal of living in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
I've thought of living in Florida, and I'm like, yeah, you want to be by the beach. But no, I think that's a great way to wrap things up here. Once again, the book is Always My Hero, The Road to Hope and Healing Following My Brother's Death in Afghanistan. ReneeNickell.com, at Renee_Nickell on Instagram. And that's RENEE_NICKELL. And then @RM Nickell on Twitter. But this has been great. People need to check out the book. And I think also anybody who's going through what you went through or something similar, they're going to get something out of it, and they're going to realize there's hope on the other end. And I think it's very courageous to come on here and say, I had to go through therapy, and in your case that you're still doing therapy, and there should never be any shame in that. And that's why I was trying to say, if just because Chris, for example, might not be on antidepressants and then it wasn't good for you, for someone else it might be their saving grace. It's as you kind of said, Renee, like individual for everybody. They're all going to find something that gets them through a horrible time and come out on the other end and be able to handle anything from there, because once you've handled that, you can go through anything.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I used antidepressants for 6 months after, after I was placed. My husband put me in a treatment facility for 3 days, you know, so, but I didn't want to be on that forever. And I was able to get off of it and start really working through things. So.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's great. You can talk. We should be able to talk about stuff like that. And with me, I still do the CBD oil. I think it works great. It works a lot better than the medication. But I to say that I don't need anything. Well, no, I still do something. It's what works for me, and it's what I've tried. But I wouldn't have known that if I wouldn't have gone through therapy, and I wouldn't have tried the antidepressants. I would have been, well, nothing's going to work for me. Well, then you're really not trying to improve yourself. If nothing is going to work for you, then you're being negative. But how do we know unless we go do it? And your husband deserves kudos as well, for sticking there and helping you through it. And I tell that with my wife. Yeah, that's why I say, because we we got, my wife just went through hell with me. I put her through hell, and she's still stood right by me. So really, she's the strongest one out of the bunch. It's always it is team. It's to get through it. And I've seen more people, more veterans and veterans families are more successful when it's the team that get them through it. And that's the husband and wife. And your daughter, actually, before we go, your daughter and doing the horses, and what place did she, I read it, but what place on that, and what was that for? I saw on your Instagram page when she was doing the steeplechase there.
Yeah, it was their Halloween event. And she placed second in her division for dressage, which she does. She hates dressage. She wants to be jumping. She said if her horse accidentally jumped over a 7-foot fence, she would be hanging on and just be so excited. She's like, "Mom, I don't have any fear." But so that's what I hope to instill in my kids is, perseverance and hanging on for dear life.
I think you did that already. Yeah, I think you're on. Yeah, I think they're already there at the word. And post more pics. That's some cool pics.
She loves it.
I did like.
Yeah, she loves it. Yeah. She works for her lessons, so she's out there,
cleaning stables,
doing it all, feeding, grooming, and she loves every second of it. So cool. I need a movie to be able to buy her a horse.
All right. Well, we'll put our feelers out there too. I don't know if I can. I don't know if it's a Michael Bay type movie, and he doesn't even talk to me anymore anyway.
So. Yeah, I want to get Michael Bay on the podcast.
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something real quick?
Yeah.
So I'm so jealous that John Krasinski, because Sam, he was an avid Office watcher. And so after he was killed, I started watching The Office, and it's like what got me through a lot of really dark moments.
Yeah.
And I always said, if a movie's ever made, I want John Krasinski to play Sam, because he does this eyebrow and this smirk. And so sometimes I just watch it just to feel close to my brother. So,
I haven't talked to him since the movie. I talked to Pablo more than, but I got his number, so we can reach out and ask him.
I don't get starstruck, but I think he's the one person I may pass out if I ever met him. So,
oh my God, we'll get that on video. Definitely, we'll get that. You know what? His wife, though, she came and I met his wife, Emily. She is they both are the nicest people in the world. John was the nicest guy on set. He's a nice on the side, and Emily Blunt she was just sweet. And my daughter and my sister knew that, and she just took the time. She was pregnant at the time when 13 Hours came out, and I remember her just taking the time with the family. And that's how actors and people, to me, that's how they should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was a very, very pleasant experience. But yeah, if John gets, I'll get you his number, whether he gets back to you or not.
It might be a little creepy.
I don't know.
We'll
see. Yeah. Say, hey, Tano, Chris told you. Who the hell is that? What? Yeah. No, all right. Well, Renee, it's been awesome. No, I appreciate it, and your testimony has been fantastic. I hope people again pick something, and you're getting through and just bearing things out there, telling them how this is how I'm getting through it, not being ashamed to say it. That's how we all should be.
Yeah.
And that's how people are going to be able to do things that maybe they're worried about what others will think about them if they do it. And when they're finding, hey, we all done it here. I'm a guy that has myself.
Yeah.
And that's how you get better. So fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. As I said during the intro, I want to get to email that we got from John Fox, sent to Battleline Podcast at battlelinepodcast.com. I try to get to whatever we can. And by the way, I should point out, any of you who won Luke Ryan's book, I sent those out last week. So by the time you hear this, they should have been there, or they'll be there any day now. So thanks for sending those. Battlelinepodcast at gmail.com. From John Fox. For Tonto and that fitness nerd guy. First question. This is something you said. So first question, why do you lift after you run? As a runner myself, I prefer my kettlebell and bodyweight exercises before my runs. That's his first question.
Should we answer
we'll
that
do
first?
a second. We will, because I was going to say this is all you, because I would not do that, but I know this is your thing.
Yeah. Actually, this actually, and that's if you lift before you run, you're going to put on mass. If you lift after you run, it's where you tone up, you thin out. It is. It's because your metabolism's going. And to be honest, I think it started not from college, because college we just lifted. We do sprints, but I hated running distance. But when you get in the military, the first thing you do for PT is you run first. You run, and then you go to the gym after. And Ranger Battalion especially, you don't ever hit the battalion fitness center first. You go do your 5 miles, 6 miles, 3 miles fast, and then you go hit and you do the weights. But as I studied this, and my wife too, she was a national, what is it, the NTSC, National Strength and Conditioning, one of those memberships. She was a trainer like yourself.
Yeah.
She was, but I asked her, I said, because I said, I want to stay lean. I don't want to bulk up. Every time I bulk up, and I played at 195 in college. So I was 30
I can't even imagine you at 195. You're shorter than me. Like,
I know. And I was 5'9", 5'10". Actually, I have shrunk an inch. I have, since Ranger, but I was a lot bigger, and I could bench. My max was like, I could do 315 four times. And I was, but when I got that is not conducive to being a Ranger. It's not. You have to be lean. You have to be able to go distances, but you have to maintain your strength too. And I learned that doing the cardio first and then lifting after is what kept me leaner, but kept my strength up. And then also, the number of reps you do and the weights, heavier weights, less reps, you're going to get bigger, more reps, less weight, you're going to get leaner. So with me, it was always, that was the ability for me to stay lean. And I always tell people, if you want to get lean, you do your cardio first, and then you come and you push yourself in the gym after. Your metabolism's going crazy, and you're able to thin out, and you get that lean look. Where if you want to get big, you do your lifting first, and you have more energy to do your lifting first. So you're lifting heavier weights.
You get your max and all that. Sure.
Yeah. And then you do cardio after, and that gets you the big look, which I can't go distances. I've tried to be 185 and be able to run 6-7 miles, and it just takes a toll on my body. Where if I'm at 160, 165, which is what I was at Ranger Battalion, I can go. And that's what I like to be. My strength in me is feeling like I can just be able to run, and then also get on the pull-up bar and do 20 pull-ups and push-ups, and then continue to run and fight. And keeping lean is key to that for me.
You saying what you just said is interesting, because another guy I want to get on the podcast. I'm thinking of the name of his book, 100 Deadly Skills. Clint Emerson.
Oh, Clint Emerson. Yeah.
He has that exercise program that's run, fight, run. So I think it's like you hit a heavy bag or something, and then you run, and then you do something else that's combat related, and then you run another lap, and that's his program.
And we did that. That's something we'll do too. We call them stations, and I do the same thing. Where like last night, I ran, then I lifted. Yeah, I did wide grip bench and close grip bench, because I do my normal benches on Monday, and then I did some of I like doing them now. The Diamond Dallas.
Oh yeah.
Push-ups. Oh, I love doing those things now. And then I hit the heavy bag at the end, and got a good. So doing stations is awesome, and it breaks things up. And Clint, basically, that's what he's doing, is you're just doing, and you're breaking it up into different exercises, so you're not getting that, okay, I gotta do 3 sets of 10, let's just knock them out. You're keeping that metabolism going. And
we got to get him on, by the way. Clint is the man. He's just one of the nicest guys. I don't know if you ever got to meet him, but he's honestly super humble guy with his resume. I mean, he's SEAL Team 6. He's done quite a lot, and he's just such a down-to-earth guy.
We will. We're social media buddies, and we follow each other on the pages, and I don't, and I'm sure he's the same way. I don't follow the big arrogant or Clint's and I've never heard anything bad about Clint in my circles. So I think he's I would love to have him on the show, but to say like we're buddies or nothing, I can't say. Just social media friends. But I've never, from the circles I ran in, I've never heard anything bad about him. And I like the way he trains. He trains similar to this kind of the same belief system. The run, fight, run is essentially what it is, man. But it does lean you out. My goal also is to stay at 165, 170, because any heavier than that, unless I'm just doing 100-meter sprints playing college football, my body doesn't function well that way, and I get injured. My knees, back, and
Yeah.
stuff just don't feel right.
And you're not trying to look like Nick Irving.
No. Well, Nick, I'd have to be 5'2". I haven't got that. No, Nick's an awesome guy. I love poking fun at him because he's short. You see the meme where you see a Ranger and then you see a 5'2" Ranger come in and you see the Ranger all puffed his chest up and it's just like, hey, the feeling a Ranger gets when a shorter Ranger comes in. Because the majority of us, seriously, majority of Rangers are about 5'9", 5'10". So when you get somebody comes in that's 5'4", 5'5", you're like, oh my gosh, I'm tall.
Yeah,
look how
he's
tall.
short, but he is jacked. But the thing is that as you're saying, that is not what Nick looked like when he was a Ranger. That's post Ranger Nick.
Post Ranger, and a lot of guys don't want to go that route. And I love, I have much respect for Nick, and I have respect because I've never met him personally. We never have.
You've never met Nick? Wow.
I've never met.
Tons. Nick is awesome. I definitely want to get him on the show. But yeah, he's super just down to earth, cool guy, and
genuine guy.
And when I was working at Sirius and he was like doing his media stuff, there would be times I would just be walking in the street and I'd see him outside of Fox News. So I've talked to Nick many times. I've gotten like sushi with Nick. He's just such a cool guy, and we used to talk very often, honestly. We hadn't in a while, but yeah, I would love to get Nick on.
And we have the same circle of friends as well, and being from the Ranger Battalion, we do. We always, I would say we're friends, even though we've never met. But we are, again, another social media friend that is another guy that I like his posts. I like that he's pretty indifferent. He doesn't get political. I like that he posted one with his son recently, a picture. I love that. And, and that's the kind, guys like that, guys like Leo. Guys like Luke, guys that Rangers, because that's how Rangers really are. And we're just, if you come to Ranger Battalion, it's not a bunch of knuckleheads, and it's a bunch of eclectic guys come from so many different areas, different genres, different beliefs, until you get them with that scroll on their shoulder, and then it's game on. But then when we're not, it's, hey, we all go do our different things. But I love that. I love that about 75th Ranger Regiment, and you can tell with all the difference. And Marty Scoveland's another one. Hippie Marty. Who would think Hippie Marty's a Ranger?
Give me the big dude. Marty's a big guy.
He's a good guy. And Matty Waters, another one. Just the difference of guys. But when you come together at Battalion, watch out, man.
Yeah.
But then when we're not together, we can go do our different things, and nobody cares, and we all respect each other for the most part. We have our differences from time to time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nick would be great, buddy. Nick,
yeah, for sure. And I'll get to the second question from John because we went on for the first one. Second question. What would the physical fitness and shooting standards be for a contractor versus a Ranger? I personally believe us Second Amendment civilians should look at that as the goal. And once again, that's John Fox.
I will Battleline. I'll be having some what we call stress fire courses coming up next year. And I'm not selling you on it, brother, but if you want to see kind of what it is just on a day, come to a stress fire course. Come to see. And a lot of the training stages that I'll put in that stress fire course are stuff that we used to do as a contractor, and some of the stuff that I used to that we used to do at Range Battalion. So here, to give you an example, Range Battalion, when I was a 240 gunner, we would go to the range, and okay, you got to be in good shape. So again, we've already done our PT for the day. We've done a lot of stuff. We even road marched 5 miles out to the range itself. And then for one of our training cycles, again, I'm the 240 gunner. I got a 240, which is, if you know what 240 is, it's the replacement of the M60. It's a belt-fed weapon. Got some ammo on me. I got my body armor on me, Ranger body armor. It wasn't that light, the little stuff that's all form fit. It's that heavy RBA shit that I can't stand. Helmet. And what we would do to start off on the stress fire, we won't do this for civilians, but I'll do something similar, but I'll water it down a little bit for safety reasons. But we would start 200 meters from the range, and as a team, we would have to run and jump over a building, which is a single foot building, which is the range shack, get over the top of it, and then continue to run to our different positions to get down and start shooting. And then you get up and you run again. And you would do that for 300 meters. But part of it is, again, with all your gear on, climbing over buildings. You don't have ladders. You don't have ropes. You have to figure out how to get over as a team and then work together as a team. And you would do that over and over and over all day. And then you would do it again at night. And I remember there was one time I was so tired, I was so tired, and I talked about in the Ranger Way, actually, it was a night shoot we were running, and just smoked. We've been training all day. We had walked out there. We've been out there for 2 days already, and I needed to move. And when I got up to move, for some reason, I couldn't figure out how to grab my weapon. I was so tired. And what I did is I grabbed the barrel, and I had my Nomex gloves on, and the Nomex melted to my hand. But I was that worried that I was going to get my ass chewed out by my sergeant, that I knew it was going to hurt, but he was in my ear going, "Move, Ranger, move, you motherfucker, move, you got to fucking," and shit. And I would just grab and I had a huge, it just melted the glove, all of my, usually just 3rd degree, bam, right there. But that's Ranger Battalion. And that was smoke and fest. So the contractor world, it's not going to be, you do get smoked. You go through stuff, and you go through forging. If you go through CQD stuff, or you go through the TDC course, the training, tactical development course, if you're going to be GRS, and there is smoke, there is some hard training, but you're a contractor now, you're civilian. So you the difference is you don't have somebody screaming in your ear anymore. Your stress level is that if you don't pass the stages, you don't get to work. So if you go up and you do a shooting stage, which we'll do a couple of stages during my stress fire courses, there's running to it. You got to move, you got to run to different positions. The stress there is that if you drop one shot, you're not going to pass. And that's stress enough, because you don't get to work. And that gets the stress levels up. So I would say physical, no, Ranger Battalion, no, of course, you're going to have more physicality during the Ranger training than you do being a civilian contractor.
Well, you know what I was going to throw out there, if you don't mind, the thing that I noticed just on the outside when you talk about the physicality, kind of as I said, how Nick Irving didn't look the way he looks now when he was a Ranger. You do have to be lean. You do have to be able to run. But then you have a guy like, look at Dale Comstock, how he looks. Yeah. Dale is big and jacked. He has that look. And he's still a contractor. He did not look like that when he was in Delta Force.
No, so I think there is an endurance aspect of it more so when you're in, but it's also you're forced to do the endurance because you're in the military. You have PT in the morning, whereas you're a contractor, it's on you. And yeah, we do have a PT test. We do have a standard. And honestly, I PT tested as a contractor, to me, was a joke. It was so easy. But it's on you, though. You can't be out of shape either. And if you're out of shape, you're not going to pass it either. So, but it's on you to make sure you maintain some PT standards. And you're right. Ian's exactly right. Guys that become contractors, they get. Do
you think that's because, like, when you're hired privately, they like that look? They like the guy?
No, because you can't blend in. I would never want to ride in a car in an area where we're supposed to be low pro covert with a guy that's jacked, because nobody in Afghanistan looks like Dale Comstock. Nobody, sure. You can't. So I think a lot of it is and I'm not saying Dale's doing it.
But in general,
I think a lot of it's just it's a persona. You take it on. Yeah.
Some of it might be, though, and you could tell me on this, if guys are doing private security where they're, maybe not even in a foreign country where they need to look intimidating.
You're right. And it depends on the job. You're exactly right. If you're doing private security, you're doing EP work, you do want to give that persona of, hey, don't fuck with me. Don't mess with me. And you give the big look. You're giving that look. I'm overt security. I'm looking outward. I'm outward security. I want you to know who I am. Where the jobs that I like to do, or the stuff that I didn't want you to know who I was. I didn't want you to know I was sitting in the background over here. And because of my body type, it worked better for me that way than being the protecting my principal. But you're right. It depends on the job too. But I also think a lot of guys that get out and you see it overseas, they get into male hormone therapy. I'll just choose that term loosely. And
yes.
And that's part that is part of, it's not a stereotype. That's part of when people get into contracting, because you don't have all that oversight. We're in the Army. You can't do that shit. Ranger Battalion, you can't do anything that is illegal, because you'll get popped out. But there is a different, it's more endurance, and Rangers, it's even more endurance, I think, than even other branches of service. You have to be thin. You have to be lean. You have to be able to run. And every once in a while you get this atypical guy that is 6'5" and monstrous, but he can still run a 12-minute 2 mile, and so, yeah, so it all depends, but you still have to be physically in good shape as a contractor. You do, because you still, every once in a while, even like, you have to be ready. You have to be ready for a night like Benghazi, where you've got to have that endurance. It doesn't come all the time, Where at Range Battalion, yeah, you have to be able to, that probably is going to come more often. But if you don't have, at least you're not in good shape, and you have to move at a moment's notice, and you have to fight for a long period of time, and you have to jump over walls, you have to be in good shape and have endurance to do that. So I think, yeah.
No, I was wondering, when you talk about the blending in, I'm curious, at the very end of your security contracting, was it
Mm.
harder to blend in with the notoriety? Because at the very end of your security, contracting was the same time you were on Fox News, you were out in the public. Did you ever get recognized?
When I was going to Yemen, we hadn't come out yet. So that was the book hadn't come out. That was 6 months after Benghazi.
No, but I mean, you were doing contracting for quite some time.
Yeah, actually, yeah. But that was mainly in South America. And yes, I did get recognized. And so, yeah, it's like, no, I did something, and it was in South America. It was in Costa Rica. And it was doing an anti-kidnapping contract, and all I was doing was surveillance and counter surveillance and some little protection. But yeah, I handed my passport when I flew into, is it San Jose, Costa Rica, I think is the capital where you fly into, and I handed the guy my passport, and he's he's Costa Rican. He looks down, looks up, goes, Tano, and I went like this, and I was like, man, well, I guess I can't do this anymore. And then when I flew back into the States, every TSA and every guy, Homeland Security guy that was doing the passports, they knew who I was. I mean, even the dog, they walked by and they were like, "What are you doing?" Because they were like, "Not what are you doing?" Like, what are you doing? I said, "I just came back from a trip," and so I knew, and that was okay with me. It's like, yeah, I probably don't need to be doing this anymore, because all I'm doing is putting other people in danger as well, and I'm not pumping myself up, because who knew if I was on the ground and people actually knew me when I was actually walking around in the areas? Probably not, because nobody came up to me when I was doing my security. And son, if you've ever been to Costa Rica, it's got its own. Yeah, it's a tourist trip. They have malls, they have, they have restaurants, they have, and I was in all these places doing surveillance on some of these things I was trying to get done. I had nobody ever come up and tap me on the shoulder and say, "Como? Hey, what?" So, but I did, coming in and out of the airports. Yeah, I did, and that's all right.
I would think it would compromise things a little bit, because even when I met you, which was after the book came out, I didn't know that you were doing contracting, and but most people wouldn't. Usually you see someone on Fox News who's retired Army Ranger, former contractor, you assume that this is what they're doing now, which is what you were doing, speaking engagements.
I was doing a lot.
Also doing this, which you obviously were not advertising.
I missed it. I loved my work. I loved the job. I loved going overseas. I loved doing that. I loved being immersed and being on my own. I love going in, or even just being with a buddy that's overwatching you, but just doing that stuff and blending in with the local populace. Yeah. So I missed it. So, and it would help me get my mind right a lot. But then it became but that was also when I was estranged from my wife. I wasn't with my family. So I think it was filling that hole. And then when I missed that other Halloween, actually it would have been 3 years ago today, sitting there going, man, I'm missing another fucking Halloween. What am I doing? And it was, I got to quit doing this shit. And that was actually, I was in Costa Rica. I remember that. I was sitting in the hotel room. I just got back to the room, and I'm like, gosh, damn it. And I realized, okay, it's out of my system. So at least I'm very lucky that I kind of got to have my cake and eat it too. Yeah, I got to do all this stuff with the media and people that want to do that, do the book and the movie and speaking events. But then I also would go overseas, not to the stands and not to North Africa, but I got to go do stuff in South America, which was fun. And my Spanish comes back, so I can blend in. I feel comfortable. I can go to Starbucks there in San Juan and order me a cafe de leche. I can order and blend in. It I feel comfortable. But yeah, there comes a point though, you got to realize, and it did. It was like, man, my family's got to come first. That's what I'm missing, and have since gone. And I'm not going to deploy again. Never say never, but I have no wants to, and I don't feel like I have to prove anything to myself anymore to go overseas and continue to work. Guys that continue to do it, good on you. It's not in me anymore. It's got to be in your system. If it's not there, don't do it, because you're going to get someone hurt, or you're going to get killed yourself. And it's not in me anymore. I have no wants to nah, I'm good at home. I'm good doing this on Fridays from 11 to 1, and I'm good. I'm good being home and just enjoying life now and saying, you know what? I did what I need to do. The rest is gravy. The rest of my life is just gravy.
I get it, man. You know what it's like when I hear you say that, and I've heard you say it before. I didn't actually watch it live, but that last Tyson fight in the Tyson documentary, I did, not the name drop here, but I did get to interview James Toback when that came out, and which was awesome because it was a great documentary. But at the end of that Tyson fight where he loses to some scrub no one's ever heard of, and he gives that interview, and Tyson says, man, I just don't have it in me anymore. Well, He's like, this isn't for me. I just did it for the money.
He stopped it too. Tyson did a Roberto Duran, didn't he? Because I remember that fight. He actually said, he didn't come out of his corner. Because he didn't.
I think yeah, that sounds right.
And that was a great documentary. I remember watching.
I love that. I've watched it so many times, but yeah, that when he says that at the end, and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't want to. He says like, I don't want to degrade the sport, something of that nature, and I don't have a love for this anymore. I had to do this, and he said like, I realized once I got in the ring, I don't love this anymore. Yeah. And he did end up spending time with his family and doing other things. So.
That's awesome. To me, that shows more honor and courage than, oh, you should have fought through it. No, he didn't feel like, he's not, I'm not going to get up there. And I love how he said, I'm not going to degrade the sport, because now he's thinking of the sport more than himself. But he did take that paycheck. But that makes, I saw that too. And and that is how it is. If you're a contractor or in the military and you're able to get to that point where you say, I don't really need this anymore. I'm good. I did what I needed to do. I feel I don't need to prove things to myself that I'm brave or courageous or I can sacrifice. I did it, and I'm still here. I'm still alive. I still have my sanity. My family's still here with me. My gosh, all right, I got it. I did what this is great. Now I can just live and just be a good dad and husband, and just love my life and just live, and whatever comes, man, it's just extra. And well, you see Mike Tyson, I think he's doing, as far as I know, he hasn't gotten into trouble since he left.
But he is going to do a fight against Roy Jones Jr. now.
Oh no! Well, they'll have fun. Roy Jones, another tremendous boxer. Wow.
Yeah. They've both been on Rogan talking about it, as has been Alex Jones has been back on, which I was very glad to see. Because I don't know if you know the whole ins and outs of it, but basically when Rogan signed this Spotify deal, Rogan originally said, when I moved to Texas, Alex Jones is the first person I'm going to have on. Then suddenly people noticed on Spotify took down the Alex Jones episode. They took down Owen Benjamin. They took down Milo Yiannopoulos. They took down all these, some alt-right, some conspiratorial people, and people were saying Rogan is kind of compromised. He took this $100 million or $10 million. How much is it? I'm trying to think. $10 million deal, and
more than both of us have. So
$100 million. It's an insane deal. But anyway, it was just like, he took the money, and he But Alex stood in his defense, and Alex said, no, he's gonna have me on. There's a few issues with Spotify, but he promised me he's gonna have me on, and he's going to. And sure enough, he did. I don't think Spotify was happy with him having him on. But I like that Rogan is a guy who's going to say, and I know you're not the biggest fan of him, but keep in mind this, and I think people need to understand this. Dinosaur media and all that stuff is, and it's not where it once was. The biggest show on cable is on news is Tucker Carlson, and Rogan gets about 10 times that. So, I mean, that is the power of new media. There's no one on cable news getting $100 million deal. It doesn't happen. So to me, Rogan needs to be that bastion of free speech and say, and because even Fox News, they won't have Alex Jones on. And I understand Alex, we've talked about it, has said some things in the past that he probably shouldn't have, and he's apologized for, but I do not at all agree with this idea that basically these tyrants in the media are like, you are not allowed to have this guy on. Yeah. Fuck that. You should be able to have on whoever you want to have on. And I was glad to see, Rogan stuck by his word, and he's going to continue to have people like Alex on, because Alex is a powerful voice. He really is. He's a powerful voice in media. He's a pioneer, and I don't want to see, he's been deplatformed from everywhere, And we need people who have a big platform like Rogan to say, yeah, he's invited to come on.
I don't have any issue with Rogan. He doesn't do anything bad or good. I just don't think he's that funny. That's all. But for him.
But I don't think he's that funny, but he's a good interviewer. I'm more into his show than his comedy.
That being said, with that, I agree with him. He should. You've got the ball there, Maverick. What are you going to do with it when Spotify comes in and tells you no? Are you going to stand up and do the right thing? And he did. From what you're and I didn't know else was going on. And you know me, I like Alex, and I actually are friends off camera. I like Alex. I know we don't always agree on anything, but I have no issue with, hey, say what you're going to say. Just I tell Alex, just beware of what you're saying, because it may come back to bite you. And it's the same as me, same as you. And I'd love to have Alex back on the show again, on this show. And if Alex ever wants me to go on his show and I'm free to do it, I will. Because I said, Alex always treats me well. But that being said, again, to have these media people do this, you said in the last episode, become monopolies, become control.
Yeah, the tech companies, the media, all of it, man. I mean, it really is crazy what's going on. I'm sure you followed even this, like New York Post did the Hunter Biden story, and they're banned from Twitter for posting about Hunter Biden. It's ridiculous. And the problem is that we were all sold on that these were free speech companies, and that's why we all signed up to them. And then suddenly it was like, well, we're not really free speech companies. We're kind of catering to the left. Honestly, the left. And then Rogan, who's as free speech as it gets, and that's why I always loved Rogan, was that he'll have Bernie Sanders on and have a great conversation with Bernie, and then he'll also have Alex Jones on, and he's honestly the only one doing it at that level.
Him standing up, us saying something, everybody else out there that does podcasts saying something, you need to, because media, and I've seen it, guys. And I started saying this back in 2000. When I started doing the media myself, 2013, 2014, that we've been in countries where the media does control what gets put out. It's called propaganda. We've had it for ages. That's exactly what we were going to in 2013, and now we're seeing it come to fruition now. I don't think anybody believed it at the time. Like, oh no, it's just free speech, no, it's not. It's speech catered to the left. Sorry, left, but it's the truth. It is. The majority of it is speech catered to the left, and you even see it more with going on with this election. And you're right with that New York Post story. If that doesn't blow it out of the water, that they had to pull the story because it was negative towards Biden. I don't know. You need more proof than that. But having like us podcasts out there, having guys like Rogan that have that huge following, which he is the barometer now. He is the standard that you have to measure yourself to when it comes to podcasts and things. With him saying, you know what, give the finger, fuck you, I'm doing what I want. That's free speech. That is what is not, hey, well, we're going to take your money and fine you if you have these guys on. Okay, if I'm Rogan, and Rogan, I would say, even then, eat shit, I'm doing what I want. Do the right thing. And he obviously is, from what you're telling me. I had no idea.
Yeah, and for the audience too, it's bigger than Alex. It's bigger than Joe. Even if you don't like them, even if you are left wing, it's just standing up for that principle. And I get it if people are going to say, well, it's not technically free speech. No one is being jailed for, and I get that as well. But what it is these tech companies are monopolies. And if they signed Joe Rogan under the context that you could do whatever you want, but we're going to have you exclusively, then yes, allow him to do whatever he wants, allow him to have on who he wants. And I'll throw this out there. He had him on with comedian Tim Dillon, who I have seen blow up from being a local New York comedian here to being one of the biggest guys out there. And he's playing a few shows by you in Omaha.
That's what you said. Said, yeah.
You should, I know you're a stay-at-home type of guy, and you're probably not going to go, but he's hilarious. You'd have a great time.
I will look into it. No, I'll be on, bro. I ain't going.
Yeah, he's really funny, man. And I've seen dreams come true with him, because I saw that guy play a local Queens comedy club probably 2 or 3 years ago. And now he's on with Alex Jones and Joe Rogan. And the both of them, actually, Alex, Joe, and Tim Dillon are going to be doing election night coverage. I think that's pretty cool. But I just like seeing, I never am the type of person who's resentful if someone has massive success. I love seeing people who are really talented
And-
succeed. I
And
really
90% of them, they've been working their asses off for years. You just don't see it. They've been doing, like you said, he's doing the local shows, and I'm sure he's been working on his trade craft forever. So it's well deserved. And when he had the opportunity to capitalize on it, he did, because he was prepared, because he, again, worked his ass off to it. And if he could probably come on our show and be like, no, it kind of just all happened overnight. Okay, well, you're the anomaly there, but chances are that he's been preparing for this forever, and he was given the opportunity and he capitalized on it. And yeah, good on you. Fuck yeah. Congratulations. Yeah. That's what America is. That's what freedom is. That's what we live in this great country for, because it could happen. It may not, but it could happen if you're willing to put the hard work behind it. Which, yeah, man, that's awesome, man. No, I don't hate anybody on that either, at all. I'd love to see success stories like that. So, but you're right on the other side. Do we these companies that are doing it, and it's benefiting one side more than the other? Just be careful, because it always comes in full circle, and it will come back and bite you in the ass. It always does. So let's just keep it all even, guys. Even field. If you have a company, keep it even, keep it open, so everybody's views can get out there. And we'll come together. We will, if we can actually talk and have these conversations like this, and it doesn't come to where one side feels like they're getting discriminated against. I mean, isn't that what that's help me out here. That's the irony of this, is that, the left is all about anti-discrimination, but they're using discrimination to preach the anti-discrimination, because discrimination of being right wing. I see this from an outsider looking in, guys, and I am independent. I am not a registered Democrat or Republican. I'm independent. I'm seeing this from.
I think I asked you this though, but do you have closed primaries there? Because the only reason I'm Republican, honestly, is I like to vote in the primaries, and I do lean conservative.
We don't. You know what? We don't have primaries. If we have primaries, no, we don't. We don't.
No, you have every state.
We have closed primaries. Man.
I'll Google this for you. See, I'm going to be honest. This is the problem, because then people like us sometimes will go, why did we get stuck with this candidate? Well, you didn't vote in the primary. So that's what, that's what happens. I try to, the reason I wanted to, I honestly registered Republican when I did was when Ron Paul was in the primary. I was like, I want to get this guy in,
the difference, I think, with Nebraska and New York, is that when we have a congressional race, we really only have one as far as the incumbent.
No, I'm talking about the presidential primaries.
Oh, yeah, but I didn't vote. Even if we didn't have, I didn't vote in the primaries anyway.
Yeah, you are a closed primary. Okay. Now I'm just curious.
No, help me out.
I'm going to look at 2016. Let's see. Nebraska Republican.
No, help me. I don't know.
Presidential primary. No, I'm kind of curious to see. Yes, so Donald Trump won the presidential primary in Nebraska.
Oh, yeah, I did.
But you know what? Here's where you may be getting confused. It gets to you guys so late that it's kind of been decided by that point. So the Nebraska Republican primary last election was May 10th, which is pretty late.
Okay.
And it even says that by the time you could vote, Ted Cruz withdrawn, John Kasich withdrawn, Ben Carson withdrawn, Marco Rubio withdrawn. So there's not even a point to voting at that point. Yeah. I mean, the most importantly, though, if you're in these states like New Hampshire, Iowa, where you could vote in a primary early, yeah, I mean, you can't complain then when the party gets stuck with the candidates that we do. We get to vote if you're a party member, and to me, that's the one incentive to being a party member is that. But in your case, it's so late that it probably doesn't even.
And matter. To be honest, you see how much I am involved with politics. All right. Well, who's winning the primary here? All right. Well, then I don't even know if I'm going to vote, dude. This year, you're not helping out. Am I helping or I don't know. Sometimes it is. It's just here. God, take care of this, man. What are we going to do? And whatever happens, then I'm going to roll that way. My dad wants me to vote. My dad's like, you got to vote. You got to vote. Which we got, a couple days left here. And yep. I am registered. Now I am a registered voter. So even though I'm non
Partisan.
Thank you. I was going to say denominational, but but thing is that when it comes down to the end of the day, it's how I've always lived. It's how I always deployed. It was right. Whoever wins, fine. I am going to continue to push and just be the best I can be, and whatever that politician puts in place, I'll figure out a way to still utilize it and be the best I can be and to help my family the best out there. Now there's crazies out there. They're, hey, well, what if there's a civil war? I don't see that happening. What if Trump doesn't relinquish power if he loses? I'll be honest, guys. I see more of Biden redoing the Constitution, taking away the Second Amendment more than I see Trump not relinquishing power. But if you want to go that route, okay, well, what are we going to do? We'll deal with it. But again, that's just going on the crazier. To me, and forgive me, guys, but I see that as going that way off routes. I don't know what your feeling is on that, Ian, but I will just go with the president that we have, and continue to be a positive person regardless, and try to set a standard even with my own family of how to overcome whatever obstacle that gets in place because of it, and continue to be successful as best that I can with the limitations that are put on me. I mean, not all of us are born Warren Buffett. That's just
even though he lives down the street from you.
He lives down the street from me, but and he still is buying up every piece of land out here and turning it into shitty housing. But hey, whatever. Good job, real estate agents. Nice job, guys. Real estate developers killing Omaha's one cornfield at a time out here. All these real estate developers. It's terrible, dude. It really is.
All right. Well, with that, wrapping things up here, Fort Scott Munitions is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition that is designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammo was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring you receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in all 50 states, as well as direct online. Go there. It's fortscottmunitions.com, and you'll be able to use our exclusive promo code Battleline and get 15% off your order. Only available to our listeners of the Battleline Podcast. Fort Scott Munitions is great, and they're a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. You've heard us talk about them. You can check out their stuff on YouTube and see what makes their ammo the best on the market. And we have shirts available too. You can check those out. Link in description. And I think that's really it. I would say have a great Halloween, but it'll be Monday by the time people hear this.
So eat a lot of candy. Hope you got a lot of candy, guys. And just be positive, guys. Just whatever happens, just be the best person you can be, and turn that freaking mainstream media off, guys. Just turn it off.
Are you even going to watch election night coverage, or are you this checked out that you're?
But actually,
I'll be honest. This will be the one time I watch, and I'll be like cynical, even though I'm not a supporter of either person. I think it's very likely Trump could win, as I said. It can go either way, but I do want to see, if Trump wins, I do want to see some people crying on CNN going, "How could this happen?" You're going to see Don Lemon cry. I just want to see that.
Actually, I don't. Don Lemon. I'll be honest, but I wouldn't. I know I'm not going that route. I'll take me to the negative route, because I really don't. That guy I don't think is good for this country at all. Any more than some of the way right, but that he just, I don't. Yeah.
But you don't even want to see them cry if Trump wins.
No, I don't. You know what? I don't relish in any of that. I don't sit. I told you so. That's just not me. Like I said, even
no. I mean, just the people who are.
Does it make me giggle a little bit with that? I'll be lying if I told you it didn't. But even the Hillary Clinton Donald Trump election, like I said, I went to bed and I didn't know until I woke up the next morning and turned my phone on, and people were like, and like I said, I went on the news that day and they said, I think Fox wanted me to be, it was Fox and Friends. It was in the morning. And like, hey, and I was, that's Charlie Mike.
Was it Pete Hegseth?
It was, no, it was He is a really nice guy. The blonde hair guy.
Oh, Brian Kilmeade.
Not Kilmeade was on there, but it was him and his son are on Fox. The older blonde hair and
Ducey, right?
Ducey, and it was Ainsley.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just think, I mean, when you think of people who are like so, in one side, I just think of Pete Hegseth. I think he got married at Mar-a-Lago, and they were all wearing like "Make America Great Again" hats. I'm like, this is a little too over the top. Like, I get it, you support the guy, you want to be president. When I see that though, like the obsessiveness, that's always just weird to me.
There you go.
Like, even if you talk to, this is how I think about it, right? Like, you talk about your love of Christianity, Christ, your religion. But even if someone talked about Jesus as much as some of these people talk about Trump, I'd be like, even that's kind of weird, even though that's more normal. You know?
So that would be, would a Don Lemon be the equal of a Sean Hannity, or a Don Lemon be the equal of a Pete Hegseth? Is that what they were trying to make they're equal here, the equality of?
I don't know. Like, those guys aren't, Pete and Hannity aren't like as angry. There's a lot of anger there. Yeah, I really don't know. It's two different camps. I just feel like, and I know you do too, no matter who's the president, we're going to have to hold their feet to the fire and make sure they're getting shit done. And I don't believe in like worshiping any of these people. Worship God.
That's it.
These people they're
people.
They're ego driven. They're people. There's going to be faults in every administration. Anyone who acts like, and you see it, that the Obama administration had no faults, was clearly not paying attention. Yeah. And if you think this administration doesn't have faults, I think you're not paying attention either.
Yeah.
But I agree, man. Just keep living your life. I'm personally right now, regardless of everything going on in my own life, I'm actually very happy with where I'm at, what I'm doing, working on this podcast, doing audiobooks. And I know the same with you with doing, your shooting classes. And I think you and I actually have found more balance throughout this, that you're not doing it every week. So every time you get to do it, you really enjoy it.
I really enjoy it. And I missed the speaking events. I had them all rescheduled till next year, and pretty much I got them all rescheduled in the spring. I'm looking forward to doing those. And I'm just looking forward to just now having that balance that I didn't have for 4 years, where now
do you miss the speaking engagements or no?
I do. Actually, I miss the corporate ones. Are awesome because you do have a middle of the road. You're not talking to a political party. They're not as fulfilling when you're coming to somebody that has never heard of Benghazi. Somebody in a corporate, hey, I didn't even know that happened. You made a movie? Wow. Like you really helped me get through a tough time. I had no idea what had happened there. That makes you feel so good because you help somebody. Even though you're like, what do you mean you don't know what happened 13 at
Yeah, you go, do you know who the fuck I
am? Actually, I'll do that one of these days. I'll film one with as a joke. I see how many people troll that. But it does. And the corporate events are extremely, extremely fulfilling. And especially even though when you speak to a guy that owns like the Buffalo Wild Wings entrepreneurship, and a guy that owns like 8 Buffalo Wild Wings in the country and is making tons of money, and comes and says, and shakes your hand and says, hey, I learned something I can take back to my coworkers. I can take back to my staff today. Like, wow, man, that's really cool of you to say that. And because, you think as a CEO of any company or an owner of multiple companies, and that's something that successful, a Red Bull CEO or a Gold's Gym CEO come up to you and say, hey, I've learned something today that I can take back to my company and teach them how to still continue to work hard and overcome. Like, man, that really makes you feel like you're a good feeling. Something positive came out of that night that you're able to relay to someone else that is already successful, at least financially successful in the business world, and they're going to apply it to what they do on their everyday businesses. That is, to me, that just is humbling. It's like, man, because I've never ran a business before. Well, I'm running one now, and actually it's doing well, but it does mean a lot. So yeah, I do miss it, but I don't miss it doing one every week like I did for 3 years, where I was doing 4 a month, where I was doing multiple cities a month. That I don't miss. I miss doing 1 or 2 a month for a time frame. But if you want to average it out, 8 a year, and they just all happen to fall in particular times of year, because that's when the companies have their conferences, either in the spring or fall. And you just kind of do them then, and then the rest of the year is off. But yeah, I do, brother. I really do.
Good stuff, man. All right. Well, we went very long this one.
Oh,
Any words of wisdom before we end this?
Go eat. If you haven't eaten a shitload of candy by Monday, you are wrong. Go eat candy and then get a good workout in on Monday. You'll turn all that candy into sustenance and energy and muscles. That day. And eat a Snickers bar. Have a Snickers bar for Tana, my favorite.
That's all for this episode of the Battleline Podcast, but we'll be back on Monday with more American Straight Talk. Until then, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Battleline Podcast and on Twitter at Battleline Pod. To sign up for future Battleline tactical courses, go to www.christantoparanto.net. Believe in yourself, face all challenges head on, and as always, never quit.